Hello, my name is Diane, and I'm an admissions representative with Kansas State University Online. I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us tonight to learn more about our academic advising graduate programs. I'm joined by Associate Professor Dr. Lisa Rubin, Assistant Professor Dr. Craig McGill, and Recruitment and Retention Coordinator Dr. Amy Levine Plattner, who are going to spend roughly the next 30 minutes giving us a presentation about this program, and we'll spend the last 10 to 15 minutes answering questions. Throughout the duration of the presentation, we will be monitoring the chat feature and answering questions as they're being asked. Some of your questions may be saved until the end for Dr. Rubin and Dr. Miguel to answer. And if you could now uh, please take a few seconds to locate the chat feature and share where you are from and which program you're interested in pursuing, as we would love to learn a little bit more about you. I will give you a minute to do so now. And as those chats are coming in, I also wanted to let you know that we will be sharing a recording of the presentation following the webinar. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Rubin and Dr. McGill.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We're excited to talk to you about three of our graduate programs in academic advising. So we'll start first with the graduate certificate, which was started in 2003. Our Master's of Science was started in 2008, and our PhD in Leadership and Academic Advising was started in 2020. So first is the graduate certificate in academic advising. The curriculum for this consists of five graduate courses, 15 credit hours total. And so the courses for this are learning principles, foundations of academic advising, student development theory, multicultural aspects of academic advising, and trends in career development. And the graduate certificate comprises half of the master's degree, which we will talk about next. Beautiful Anderson Hall there. So as I just mentioned, the master's degree consists of those five courses plus five additional courses. And so those courses are research methods in academic advising, interpersonal relations in academic advising, college student athletes, which Dr. Rubin teaches, college students with special needs. And then we have one elective from a list of three possibilities. So we've got history and philosophy of higher education, assessment of academic advising, and current issues in intercollegiate athletics. And then in addition to these courses, we have a capstone project experience that students generally do in their final semester. And so it consists of three options: either responding to three case scenarios with the knowledge and theories you've learned throughout your coursework. That's option one. Option two is a comprehensive plan for academic advising on a campus. Or if your desires are not met by one of those two, we have a third possibility, which is pretty open. And you can talk to your academic advisor in our program to determine what makes the most sense for you. Right. So the admissions requirements for our Master of Science degree are a bachelor's degree with a minimum of 3.0 GPA in your final 2 years, or approximately the last 60 credits. But even if you don't meet that, we probably have the option of admitting you conditionally. So feel free to reach out to us if that will be an issue for you. Our applications are year round, so we accept throughout the entire year. But generally speaking, applicants should plan to apply within 2 to 3 months of the semester in which you plan to start. And so the fall semester begins in late August, so you might think about applying in April or May. The spring semester starts in January, so September or October. And then summer semester starts in late May, so February or March. And when you apply, you include the following: a professional resume or curriculum vitae, and then a one-page statement of your goals and professional experiences. And you'll want to include the following information: career and professional aspirations and goals, and how being accepted into this program will help you to achieve those aspirations and goals. The reason for your interest in the program, evidence of motivation, leadership, and a strong work ethic, any personal experiences that support your application, such as having like a really great experience with your own academic advisor and being, inspired to become an advisor yourself. And then one additional thing for international applicants, you must include a statement that you are taking all courses through distance education and will not be coming to the US for any of the program coursework. You can still visit, of course, but this is just a statement saying that you don't need to be in the US to complete the master's program. And with that, I believe I will pass it on to Dr. Rubin to discuss the PhD.
Thank you so much, Dr. McGill. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. I'm happy to talk a little bit about our PhD program, and then we will have lots of time for Q&A. So our PhD program, and I apologize if I have internet issues trying out new internet today. The doctoral program prepares professionals for roles in leadership, research, and teaching focused on academic advising and higher education. It requires 90 credit hours post-baccalaureate, and it is a subplan under counseling and student development. This is a cohort model program. So the program is done with a group of people together who take classes together and have professional development activities. It is offered through K-State Online and has synchronous sessions via Zoom. If it's a class, those will be specified before registration, so you know when you meet synchronously. If it's a monthly meeting, then the cohort with the faculty picks a date and time that we stick with the whole time you're in the program as a group. So we figure that out together. There's a 1-week session the first 3 summers, including in person in Kansas the first and third years, and then virtually over the second year. Students complete a minimum of 2 courses or 6 hours per semester for 6 consecutive semesters in the summer, fall, and spring. And preliminary exams are completed the semester after coursework is completed. We have ongoing professional development activities, which are awesome, including panels of advising leaders, scholars, and great administrators, and collaborative opportunities for faculty and a major professor, which is the how we call doctoral advisor at K-State, to work on things together. Monthly interactions, and then opportunities to engage with the NACADA Center for Research. So this is a long time away. We have a new cohort starting in May 2024. So this next cohort, if you're interested, would start in May 2026. So you have lots of time to think about this and research our program. And we do require an original scholarly essay for the application. This is because we dropped test scores from our graduate application. So we don't require the GRE or anything like that. So I think I need to unshare and reshare because I forgot to click computer sound so you can hear this awesome video. So 1 second while I figure this out. All right. Technical challenges abound always, right? All right, did I forget to do it again? Yes. This is me being human at night, so I appreciate everybody's patience. I needed to hit share sound there. All right. Now we go. So Christy is currently an advisor at Notre Dame, and she is now in our PhD program. Let me get this. It's taken a moment. All right.
For students that are wondering, what's their next step? For me, it took a lot of years to determine that. And I finally figured out, I'm researching careers and I'm doing this and looking into development for students. And this was the answer to what it was. Every time I wanted to know something, I sent an email. And really, that was really one of the driving forces as to why I decided to attend, because it was just such, it was really personal and they really cared. I'm the type of person that likes to be in the class with the professor up front, and I actually really feel like I had that experience with the Global Campus. I know several of my professors, and I feel the real connection with them. So the global experience for me has been really almost better than in the classroom because there was so much contact. I feel that it's really been, I've been part of the family. I want to get as much academic advising experience as possible. I really enjoy student development, and that was a big part of our program. So lots of our classes really focus on theory and development. And for me, that was important because it lets you get to the heart of the student. One of the things that I was able to do that I really like is attend the NACADA conference. So I met several of my professors there. Really made connections there. On campus, because I was in the program, I was also able to create and work with one of our provosts to actually do an assistantship in academic advising. Halfway through the program, my father passed away, and I needed some time, and he gave me the time that I needed. For some, they might have stopped and taken a break, and because of their care, because he really just allowed me what I needed. And so I didn't stop, I kept going and I finished. And so for me, that said a lot. It said a lot about who they are as just a family, as Kansas State, and how much they care about their students. There can be challenging times. And so just the fact that they made sure that I had everything I needed all the time. I think because of that and their partnership, even with NACADA, really makes it something that students love. And so just this distance education at a, just a world-renowned university for me, highly respected, you can't get much better at all.
Okay. I'm glad the audio worked. I'd seen the video was a little behind, so I apologize. This is clearly a tough internet trial day for me. But we just wanted to let you know that we're here for the questions more than sharing all this stuff, because it's going to be hard to remember. So here's all of our contact information. Everybody on here can be contacted for all of the programs. We just have assignments just to kind of help it out, but feel free to contact any of us with your questions, and then see if Amy will help us field some questions in the chat as well.
All right, we're starting to get some questions in the chat. The first is it too late to apply for the certificate admission to start this spring? For this spring, 2024, it is. But you can start in summer of this year or in fall. And then the next one is if you get a certificate, can you then apply the credits towards the master's? Absolutely. That it really is just literally half of the master's degree. So some students will apply for the master's and then declare the certificate, and then focus on the 5 courses required for the certificate first so that they can say they've completed the certificate. Or we've had people who will do the certificate and enjoy the classes so much that they'll decide to go on for the master's. And in fact, I was one of those students back in 2008. I did the certificate first, and then I was just having a blast in the courses, and so I did the master's degree, and I finished in 2010. So yeah, that's quite common.
I see a couple other questions. So there's a question, is K-State the only program with PhD program uniquely to academic advising? So yes, we are the first and hopefully the only for a while. And I'm happy to say that Dr. McGill is probably the only in the world faculty that we hire specifically for academic advising. And we're very proud to be the leader there. I think being tied to NACADA, the Global Community for Academic Advising, has significantly benefited our students, and a lot of the executive office members are faculty in our department as well. That's a great question.
I want to know about accreditation nationally, please. I'm seeking future jobs in California at some point. So I don't know if you're talking about the university being accredited, or you don't, academic advising is a field that you don't need licensure or any sort of accreditation to be a member of the profession. So in fact, we don't even have any sort of licensure for that. So Jill, if you want to just clarify if you're speaking about the university is absolutely accredited, but we don't have like a program level accreditation.
Okay, so another question that came in is, what is the difference between the certificate and the master's when trying to find employment? That's a great question. I think it depends on your background. So if you already have a master's degree in something else, getting the graduate certificate is a great place to start if you're trying to enter into an advising position. If you don't have a master's yet, you may earn the certificate along the way, and then when you can possibly get a position if they know you're enrolled in the master's program before you complete it. I think more likely than before, like before COVID, most of the positions were looking for master's completed for advising roles, and now it's bachelor's required, master's preferred. So I still think with just a certificate, you might have an advantage over someone who did not have any training in advising to get a position. So that's a really good question. All right, another question from Keegan about the best class or classes to start with. That's a great question. For both programs, the certificate and the master's, we suggest the Foundations of Academic Advising as our first class, because it really sets the tone for the rest of the courses you will take. It's also not required to go in a certain order, which I know for some people that's challenging if I'm a to-do list person. So I'm like, how come I can take classes whenever I want? Especially because we offer most of them year round, 3 times a year. So you can take something that you need at that time for your job if you have one, or if you're interviewing for a certain student population you're going to be advising. So that's something that's really nice about the program. There's no required prerequisites with the exception of the assessment elective. So if you decide you want the assessment elective, you have to take research methods first. Otherwise, there's no order. So you can take your elective first if you wanted and go crazy like that.
We do recommend research methods early on in your program for the master's degree, because the primary goal for research methods is to help you to become a more competent consumer of research literature. And so taking it earlier will help you read better in your subsequent courses. But again, it's only a recommendation, not a requirement.
Shannon asked about funding. So we do have global campus scholarships, and there's a website, maybe we can put it in the chat, that has information. You can apply for them every single semester. So you do have to apply summer, fall, spring, throughout your program. And College of Education students can get $1,000 scholarship if they're selected for each of the semesters as an option. So those are the funding options for distance students right now. If you happen to want to come to K-State, you can apply for a graduate assistantship to work on our campus. and that would offer a stipend and potentially tuition reimbursement if you're local or move here. And we're all scrolling to make sure we answer the questions.
Yeah. How many classes to take during a semester? How long does the certificate usually takes? It is completely dependent on you and your life and what you have going on. You know, if you're working full time, that's one consideration. If you're raising children or you're a caretaker for parents or other folks, that's a consideration. So we have people who will take one class every semester. We have people who will take two, even 3 and 4. Although you want to be very careful before you take on that amount. In my experience, I would say probably most of my advisees take 2 a semester. And if you do 2 for each semester, 3 semesters a year, you can finish the certificate in 1 year, and you can finish the whole master's degree in just under 2 years. But again, it kind of depends.
So I see another great question. What types of support are available for online students, including the Writing Center? So great news, Keegan and everybody. The Writing Center makes distance appointments for our students. That's something I include a link in all of my classes to, so students can make those appointments. But all of the services are available. Like you can work with a counselor, you can work with a career center coordinator. Advising is the faculty. You'll be given an advisor depending on the program you applied to. There's a whole wealth of resources on the K-State online page for distance students also. I mean, Diane can put that in the chat. But we do have pretty much everything. There's a pretty significant amount of students who are doing distance programs, so we make sure they have the same experience as students on campus.
There's a question about needing to wait until you graduate before applying to the master's. I believe the answer is no. You just need to have a bachelor's in hand when you start the master's degree.
Yes, that is accurate. And we have someone who is already admitted for a different PhD program who's graduating in May with her master's, and that's fine. So great questions. Trying to make sure we didn't miss any because there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah. Jill, I think we've answered your question, but let me know if that's still unclear. It would just be treated as a master's at any accredited university in education.
Okay,
most advising positions would not. In fact, I don't know any advising positions that would require masters in advising, but it is helpful, obviously.
All right, the next program is about how our classes operate. And I know Amy's typing a response, but I'll just address that. So it is asynchronous. We have students in these programs from all over the world. So if we tried to pick a time that everyone had to meet, it wouldn't be fair. Someone would be missing out on sleep, I think. So all the courses are asynchronous. Some faculty have optional Zoom sessions, or you can just set up an appointment to meet with the faculty member on Zoom or on the phone if you prefer, and get help that way or connect with students that way. But we don't require people to meet for class, just due to the nature of the students being everywhere, which is really kind of cool. It's one of my favorite things about the classes is people are bringing experiences from all these different countries and types of institutions. And some people are working outside of higher ed or stay-at-home parents or fresh out of college. So you'll see a wide range of ages and experience and interests. And that's the best thing for us as the students that we serve. So I think you'll find it can be challenging sometimes to be asynchronous, but I know in some classes, I think in Dr. McGill's, there's some group projects, so you may not be alone in everything. So those are some things to think about, that you won't have a lot of live interaction for the courses. Now, we do have sessions during the semester like this. They're optional, where students can come and meet each other and meet the faculty more informally as well. We have a question about textbook costs. That's a good one. I think it depends on the faculty member, so I can't speak for everyone. I know for my classes, I try to keep it either, as low as possible or book free. I think both of the books right now for my current classes are under $30. And I think my summer course, I have a $10 book you can get on Amazon. So we do keep it low. If it is a NACADA text and you're a member, you get a discount. So that's something worth doing. Joining NACADA as a member is very affordable as a student. So I think Dr. McGill wants to add.
Yeah, my classes too. I aim for under $50. And some of them don't have any textbooks, so.
All right, we got an excellent question about accommodations. So yes, you would send, if you have a document for accommodations for courses, you would send that. Actually, there's an application through the Student Access Center, which you can do online, and submit the documentation there. And then they will provide the faculty with letters that directly to the faculty you have that semester with a letter that says, the student has these accommodations. And so then the faculty will provide those, and they should. If they don't, let us know. But that is totally common to register for accommodations. So it's a really good question. Thank you.
Diane, we have a question in the chat about whether the recording will be sent out to attendees tonight.
It will not be sent tonight, as it takes a few days for our marketing team to close caption it, but it will take a few days, and that will be sent out as soon as it's ready.
I mixed the order of the words. I meant the session tonight being sent out.
Yeah, gotcha. Yes, tonight's recording will be sent out in a few days.
I'm scrolling up just to make sure. I think, Susan, you asked a similar question about courses and the order. Again, most of the classes, there's very few exceptions, are offered all 3 semesters. So you can take the Foundations of Academic Advising this summer. If you were to take one course, I would recommend that one to start. And then 2 courses, maybe Research Methods or Student Development Theory, would be another one. But again, they're all offered. So you could look and say, oh, I really want to take career development, and then take that, because that's fine. So I wouldn't worry so much about the order. Think about your interest and what you're trying to accomplish. What I recommend is when you get connected with your advisor, to share your goals and let them help guide you towards meeting your goals. So some things may be along the way, and some things maybe when you finish the program, but that's the best way for us to make sure you have the right information. Okay. Is there anything offered to military spouses? We do have a pretty robust support system for military connected students. So our College of Education has a military liaison, like a professor who works directly with military connected students. And there's a military resource center on campus that also does. So if there's like questions with the GI Bill application or other supports needed, like there's definite contacts we can provide for that. I hope that makes sense, Kelsey, but if you want more clarification, let me know. I know Amy's answering this too. But great question again. Can we communicate with our professors via Zoom? Yes. So all of us are available for appointments with students. Some people may have open office hours on Zoom. They sit there. There might be optional Zooms where you can check in and ask questions about topics that you're wanting clarification on or want to dialogue about. So we definitely welcome that. I mean, pretty much everyone is a distance student in the program. We have a couple exceptions, maybe some current advisors at the university are in our programs because we get a tuition deal as a staff member. So Most of our meetings are on Zoom or on the phone. If you don't feel like being on video that day, that's also understandable. So,
Or you can come on Zoom and just not show your face too.
yes.
I met with a group for my research methods course before jumping on here tonight. So
And thank you, Diane, for sharing the military resource liaison.
Diane, we have a question about applying for summer and the waiver.
Yes, Keegan, go ahead and send me an email at online@ksu.edu, and I'll also write that in the chat. And I'd be happy to send you an application fee waiver. And just to clarify that the application fee waivers are available to those applying for the master's degree specifically. So I'm not sure if you're planning on applying for the master's or the graduate certificate, but I just wanted to clarify that.
And there was a question about FAFSA. Unfortunately, the graduate certificate is not a degree, and so you can't get financial aid, but you can for the master's degree. Yes, Matthew, you will be getting a waiver by attending tonight.
Great questions. Okay, let's see. We got another one that just came in. Okay, this is a great question from Ambika because what should an international student expect while applying? I think one thing that when you're in the program, there's a challenge that some of the material may seem US centric. So I think we've done a pretty good job of trying to incorporate global perspectives. I know Dr. McGill is connected worldwide with advising leaders and scholars and is like working on a book about this. So he's even proposed maybe one day doing a comparative advising course. So I think that we're working to, highlight different types of advising experiences and educational experiences. I know that I currently have someone in Canada who's in a very US centric class because it's on college athletics here in the US, right? So that's not going to be replicable in other countries. And I'm welcoming what is Canadian sport like. And he's able to share that. And I'm not going to say don't share that. That's not relevant. It's relevant because that's the advising context he will be in. And so I think that's really important. In terms of application, I'm not sure what else I can say about that. There's a specific international application on K-State Online or K-State Global Campus page. Should walk you through those steps, but you can always contact Diane with questions as you work on it.
Dr. Rubin, we've got a question about how the master's in advising compares to the master's in college student development.
Oh.
I think you're the most qualified person to address that.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just trying to find, there's so many questions came in, I might be missing.
It's on the open.
Thank
I
you.
said that we'd answer it live.
Okay, so the College Student Development Masters is an in-person program. So we have a program that's 39 credits. So this one is 30. This Master's in Advising is 30. So the in-person program has 39 credits. Most of the students, I'd say not all, but most of them have a graduate assistantship in an area of campus, such as housing and dining, career services, student support and accountability, advising, or other types of programs like that. And a couple of our students work full-time at the university in areas like fraternity and sorority life, or some of these other offices. So the students in that program will have some overlapping courses with academic advising, and you may have a student in that program in your class that can't do the in-person, because it might conflict with their work, for example. That program also has two experiences that differ from advising, one being a practicum, where it's kind of like an internship during a fall semester, and that's on a campus. Doesn't have to be at K-State. It can be in another regional institution where someone may have a place to stay, maybe in Kansas City or Wichita, for example. and also an individualized summer experience, which could be an internship that's away from campus or a research project with a faculty member or other type of project. So those are the main differences. And then there's an extra course in there. The students in that program either focus on student affairs administration or social justice education right now are the two tracks. We're adding a college athlete development track this fall. And so you'll see there's some more overlap of courses, but that program, because it has more classes, some students also do the advising certificate or other certificate programs in there as well. So if you're interested in moving here to Manhappiness, that's an option, but you can also do the 30 credit online program here and take, I believe, 4 of the classes in person for a slightly lower tuition rate for in-state tuition. So hopefully that answers that question well for you.
We have a great question about how much time to expect that it'll take for classes. And Dr. Rubin, I'd be curious if you have a different gauge. I usually tell my students during a 15-week semester to plan at least 10 to 15 hours per week per class. In the summer, our classes are reduced. We offer, I think, one that's in the 4-week, which is really compressed, but most of them are in the 8-week. And so that's about half as much time, or half as much time for the course as it is during the regular semester. So then the time doubles. So I say 20 to 30 hours per class during those 8 weeks. Is that about what you would say, Dr. Rubin, or would you say more or less?
I think generally that's fair. It obviously depends. Some things you'll have bigger projects in some classes, and others you'll have less reading or more reading. And each professor has a different style, and you may take people and take them a few times because you like their style and how they organize their class or how high or low the reading load is. So that's kind of normal. Like we all have our favorite ways of learning. So it's definitely commitment. I think if you're working full time, one class is possibly the way to start. 2 classes is the max that I would suggest in a fall or spring semester. In the summer, it depends. So if you already work in advising, you may have orientation, registration, conferences. I mean, it can be crazy busy. So some people, summer is actually not a downtime situation. And so one class is enough. Some people want to go on a cruise in July, so they take the 4-week course in June. So it sort of just depends on what works for you. But I will say this, since I don't think it was mentioned, K-State has a very generous drop policy. More than I've worked at many institutions, and in the fall and spring, you have 3 full weeks to drop a class for a full refund. So you can test out what it's like to take 2 classes versus 1 while you're working. And if you say, hey, this is going to work for me, you can drop it and get your refund. In the summer, I think you have like 5 days to decide that. It's a little shorter, but it's really fair. So it gives you a chance to test things out, or maybe a combo of classes if you register for 3 and want to drop one of those, which go well together for you, or which don't have everything do the same days as each other. You can play around with it a little bit.
So we have a question about the capstone. So the first option is standard. So students respond to 3 case studies. The other 2, I think probably your question is most geared towards the third option. I have a student graduating this term, and she is working on a training for advisors. And so she's meeting. So we ask that you meet the 4 learning outcomes in whichever option you do. And so she's addressing the 4 learning outcomes through the content of the training. And this is going to be for her a real deliverable that she can take, to her supervisor on campus and say, hey, I've created this training program. So It makes sense for some students to do that option. For other students, maybe the first option or the second option makes more sense. Dr. Rubin has posted some examples. Are there, I had one who was going to do a podcast, but he changed his mind and decided to do the first option in the end. But I thought the podcast idea was really cool.
I just had one. I actually called the student today because it was so good. I wanted to give her feedback. Who did option 3, which was the portfolio. So I designed a portfolio with her committee that she would put together on a website that highlighted her competencies and theoretical knowledge. But she took her 4.5 years. She's going to graduate May after 4.5 years in her program. Started right when COVID started. And she made a decision not to take summer courses because she wanted to spend time with her sons when they were out of school. And I told her, like, what have you been working on at your job as an advising administrator? And then she wanted to demonstrate how learning along the way in our courses helped her with her initiatives at her job, at her institution. And then she did a whole section on leadership development for herself when she wants to advance maybe to a assistant vice president level. So it was a really unique project and it was just awesome. So the link that we put has the 3 options, the case studies, the comprehensive advising plan, or the special project, and information about the competencies and what we're looking for and demonstrating those. I think once students are in there, they apply to graduate, then Amy puts them in a special class online where they can see some sample projects. I don't know if those are on the site anymore because we've tried to update that lately. So any other questions? No questions, a bad one. And we have reserved this time for you.
And if we've missed one, feel free to copy and paste it again. We certainly want to make sure we're not trying to ignore anyone or any question. If you do have questions following this tonight, the general protocol is to email Dr. Rubin for questions about the certificate and me for questions about the master's degree. So that's kind of how we've divvied this up. So time frame that an applicant would hear back about if they were accepted. Amy, would you want to respond to this?
Sure, yeah. It's usually a fairly quick turnaround. Once you've submitted the application, it goes to review, and then we submit a decision typically within a day to a few days after receiving the application. From there, it goes to the graduate school, and then they send you an email with their decision. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. Usually, if you've applied, you'll hear back within about a week.
Kelsey asked about online fees. So the online tuition is actually pretty reasonable. It's less than our out-of-state tuition. One course is about $1,500. So it doesn't matter where you live. It's pretty much about $500 a credit hour with fees, and we have 3 credit hour courses. So you can calculate kind of a general idea of how much the certificate or the master's will cost with that information and plan, for what works for you in terms of both balancing classes and work and also financial reasons. That's a good question.
Yes, absolutely, Kemi. The question is about the project, and we encourage our advisees to meet with us. Particularly if you're wanting to do option 2 or 3, you really have to meet with us because we have to approve what you're going to do in order for you to do it and feel assured that you'll be able to pass it. I tell my advisees I'd like to meet with them every semester just to hear an update, but advising is not required. So it's really up to the student if they choose to reach out to us. So
Thanks, Diane, for putting the scholarship information in the chat.
excellent questions tonight. This is great.
Mhm.
We don't really have an orientation, do we? Unless there's a K-State process I don't know about. Um, Orientation usually for my students consists of just a meeting with me, and we'll kind of go through and answer any outstanding questions that you have, and discuss your first semester and how to get started, and um, so
We'll also offer once or twice a semester, usually a gathering on Zoom that's optional, encouraged for new students in the certificate and master's. There's going to be separate meetings for those two different programs. So you can meet other students in the program and then connect with some of the faculty and ask more questions. In the past, we've occasionally done orientations where touring around what Canvas looks like if you were using a different learning management system and things like that. But I'm not exactly sure if that's planned for now, but we will make sure right when you're admitted, you're given your advisor's name and email, so you can contact them right away and set up a time. And I think that's something we really like, is hearing from students and learning about their goals and how we can help. So that's excellent. Auditing courses. If you audit a course, you wouldn't get credit for it. So that would be the concern if you wanted to apply it towards the program. So you can take a course as a non-degree seeking student. There's a different application process through K-State Online. Applying as a non-degree student, take a class. If you like it, you can apply for the program. I think you can take up to 2 classes non-degree that will count before you must apply. Or if you don't like it, you can move on, but I would take it for credit so you can use that if you want to continue.
we've got a question about timeline. What is the timeline for the masters? You for sure can take time off. But is there, I know that for the doctorate, there's a timeline. Do you know if there's one for the masters?
I think there is like a 6-year limit, but your record stays active for 2 years. If you took a break, which I'm sure all of you know, like during COVID, people had kids at home or were working and teaching from their home or whatever, were burned out. We had people take off, a semester or two. Your record stays active for 2 years. So you can enroll at some point in those 2 years after your last class. If you wait after that, you have to reapply for the program. So I'll just state that. But I don't know if we've ever had anyone take more than 5 years that I'm aware of since I've been up here 10 years. So
And it's common for people to do one at a time. So if that's the pace you want to go at, no problem.
That's a good question.
We have a question about walking through where to submit assignments. So we use Canvas as a university. I'm a tech idiot and I find Canvas to be super user friendly. So if I can use it, anybody can. Um, let's see.
But yes, Kimmy, your advisor will help you with all that. That's totally fine to ask this
Yeah.
question.
Yep.
Size limit and certificate program. All the classes have like a size cap. They kind of vary. I think like some are 28 students. Some are like research methods, I think isn't that's bigger, but it has grad assistant help, or there's varying sizes, but if there's enough demand, like there's a wait list option when people register. So if we have a big group on the wait list, we might offer a second section rather than like lump everyone into a giant class, because the master's level, we kind of want to keep it small. So we've been able to offer like a second section, for example, in some of those cases.
And I don't know if this is implicit in the question or not, but we give individualized feedback if that's the question. So you'll get feedback on your work through the courses.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So we don't want it to be like a, great job. Like you're going to get feedback on assignments, on discussions, on activities, papers. We want people to develop as writers. We're hoping that advising practitioners will research and publish on their work and their students, not just leave it to people who don't do that work. So we do take that pretty seriously.
Dr. Rubin is one of the co-editors of the NACADA Journal, so lucky to have that on board.
Yeah, it's exciting to see scholarship of advising like before my eyes. I get to see it before it's published, so that's really cool. We still have time, so don't worry. We're here for a couple more minutes. I'd love to hear any other questions, concerns, thoughts.
We have a question about tuition. And yes, that should be the same for both, right? For everyone. Yeah. Oh, we have a question about our own educational backgrounds. That's fun. I have well, I told you all that I did the master's in academic advising way back in 2010. I also have a master's degree in music theory. I was a music composition and English literature major as an undergrad, and my doctorate is in adult education and human resource development. And I study professionalization, which is how occupations transform into professions. And so specifically, I do work on professionalizing academic advising. And I'm also a qualitative researcher, so I teach a lot of research methods courses. Dr. Rubin.
Sorry about that, Kimmy. I can barely see my computer. I'm not wearing my glasses today. So my undergraduate degree is in advertising, which I thought it was really cool that Dr. Yang, who's one of our colleagues in our department, also has a degree in advertising. So we're not the only ones in the education space. My master's is in kinesiology and sport management, and my PhD is in higher education leadership. So all different fields. I think, interesting journeys. We all have different paths. I've primarily researched college athletics, the professionals who support college athletes, so academic advisors and student athlete development professionals, but I'm also interested in a lot of advising and non-advising areas. I've worked outside of athletics as well in different spaces on campus. So I know I get labeled a lot as like the sports or athletics person, but I started my career in the admissions field. And I also have worked in career services, student integrity, academic integrity, and conduct. and first year experience and student involvement in organizations. So a little bit of everything. I just really fell in love with the idea of working with students when I was a college student myself, and I was a tour guide and an admissions student worker. So I think a lot of us fall into it in weird ways, and that's my way. So
Crystal asked, are you or were you an athlete yourself?
So I'd say most people would say no. Only in the past 6 years have I gotten into fitness, and I teach fitness classes on the side here in town. And now I'm a student at K-State too. I'm working on an undergraduate certificate online, which is really funny to me. But now I'm on your side. I had to apply, and I had to call financial aid to get my funding released and all those things. So it's been interesting to be on this side and do that. But I'm taking a kinesiology course myself right now, so it's pretty fun. Be a student at K-State.
And you're a flautist too.
Yes, I was in flute practice today. I'm in the K-State flute choir with a bunch of very talented students, and I'm just the weirdo professor who's trying to be cool and play with them. But yes, we have a lot of musicians in our faculty. So
yep.
Oh gosh, I missed a couple more questions. Y'all are good.
Oh, did we miss some?
Oh no, they're just okay.
Okay.
I think Diane has some wrapping up words that she wants to give, but I really appreciate everyone taking the time to spend this evening with us. Please email if you have questions, anybody that you want to talk to, us, Amy, she knows everything, and then Dr. Kraft, our department head, all of us are willing to answer questions.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rubin and Dr. McGill, for that wonderful presentation. And thank you for everyone for joining us here tonight. If you are ready to apply, please visit our website at online.ksu.edu and select how to apply for detailed instructions. As a reminder, everyone who has registered for this webinar will be receiving a recording via email as soon as it's available. And if there are any questions that we missed, please feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to assist you with those questions. And as a reminder, we do have application fee waivers for those who attended this live webinar and are applying for the master's degree for the upcoming summer semester. Again, our email is online@ksu.edu. Please reach out to us and we would be happy to provide you with a code. And yes, thanks again for everyone for joining us tonight, and I hope everyone has a great night.